Welcome to the Talkin Bout Podcast. I'm your host, TW. Listen, I know you have so many choices for your entertainment, so wherever you are and wherever you may be, thank you so much for spending a few minutes of your day, a few minutes of your evening here with me. Trying something a little different, going live tonight for a Smackdown post show. If you guys were catching Smackdown, it was a good episode tonight. There was a lot of fun stuff going on. We're really building up to SummerSlam. We got 8 days. We're 8 days out from SummerSlam, and we had a face-off between Jay and Roman. We got to see how that worked out. We had Santos Escobar and Rey Mysterio battling to be the #1 contender for the U.S. Championship. We had a little situation with Bianca Belair and Charlotte Flair, a little reluctant tag team partner situation. We had LA Knight, everybody's favorite. LA Knight was out tonight, and he had some stuff going on. We got to see Hit Row. I thought Hit Row did a great job. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. We got to see Io Sky and Bayley in their continuing developing situation between not only themselves, but also with Asuka, with the briefcase, with Shotzi. There's a lot going on there. Something that does not have a lot to it. There's not a lot of substance going on is what they're doing with Karrion Kross and AJ Styles. Hopefully that's one of those things that ends up delivering better than it looks, but right now it doesn't appear to be a whole lot to it. And we got to see main event Jey Uso close the show, or so we thought, because he certainly had his moment interrupted tonight by his good old family. And we're going to talk about how that all played out tonight. Now, we're going to start where the show started, which is obviously the top of the top story coming out of the show tonight, which was Jey Uso. Again, we talked about this. Jey Uso is getting his chance to be a top guy. Jey Uso is getting his chance to be the feature player of SmackDown. Jey Uso is getting his chance to be the star of the show, the guy who opens the show, the guy who closes the show. And listen, I don't really think that Jey Uso is going to win at SummerSlam. I know some people don't like that. That's not a popular opinion. I know some people really are hoping and wishing that Jey Uso can find some way to defeat the Tribal Chief. But I just don't see it happening. But what they did tonight really helped build the situation. Sometimes when you're watching these shows, you got to take a step back, right? You got to take a step back and just let yourself get lost in the story. You got to take off that hat of yours that's been watching wrestling for so long and knows the pattern for the way they set things up. And it really does affect the way we watch these things, right? Like, you can't help but think to yourself, well, WWE has a pattern of doing things a certain way. So if they did this, then it probably means they're going to do that, right? Like, we are conditioned from years and years and years of watching the show to think we know where it's going. And that's not just a wrestling fan thing, by the way, right? Like, I think we do this when we're watching all shows. I think everybody really does. It doesn't matter. If you're watching daggone, Temptation Island, a show which I love, by the way. I love Temptation Island. Give it up for Temptation Island. I might have to do a pod just keeping up on the season of Temptation Island, because that show is scandalous every year. It never fails to deliver. I'm here for all the scandal. I love that show. But anyway, no matter what you're watching, right, we all have a tendency to try and figure out what's going on, try and figure out what's happening. Where's the story gonna end up? How's it gonna play out? Are these things gonna end up the way that it looks like they're being pointed to going, right? Like, sometimes it works a certain way, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's a big misdirection. Like, you never really know, right? And we do this too as wrestling fans, right? So we're gonna look at how they're setting up the situation between Jey and Roman, right? Like, what's the ebbs and flows of the story, right? Are we in a situation where it looks like Jey should be coming out on top? Or are we in a situation where it looks like Roman should be coming out on top, right? I mean, like, we all know this is the Tribal Chief show, and he's ultimately going to come on top no matter what. I'm sorry. And if you really want to boo me, it's not just because it's the Tribal Chief show. It's because he's saving that title for WrestleMania 40, where he's going to drop it to Cody Rhodes. Yes, I said it. I meant it. It's not me. I don't make the rules. I'm just reacting to what we see here. So anyway, show started with Roman Reigns and Jay in the ring having a little face off, right? We see Jay in the ring, and we see Roman's music hit. One thing I gotta say that I don't love about this, right? Whenever I see Jay next to Roman, Jay's posture always it's like a dog that knows he's about to get hit on the nose with a rolled up newspaper for pissing in the wrong place, right? He's always kind of like hunched over, looking like he's about to just get a whooping, and he looks like he's about to get in trouble. And it makes him look smaller than Roman. And Roman actually used to kind of do not physically the same thing, but when Roman used to be in promo segments next to Jon Moxley, Roman used to always kind of allow Moxley to take the lead. And I always thought that made Roman look like less of a top guy, right? Like back in the early days of the Shield, a lot of us were sitting there saying, well, who's the leader? Who's the leader of the Shield? And whenever Roman was in a segment with Jon Moxley, I felt like Roman always deferred to Moxley, right? Because Moxley's more experienced, a better talker, whatever. But you still see that dynamic when the two of them are on screen at the same time. And I noticed a lot of that when Jay is in these segments with Roman. Jay defers to Roman, right? It's almost like he's stepping back saying, okay, you the big dog, you lead this segment. And again, we all know Roman is the big dog in real life, right? Like in the eyes and the pecking order of the company, we know that Roman's up here and everybody else is below that. So I don't fault Jay for defaulting to Roman to lead the segments in some ways, but I also feel like if you are getting your shot to look like a top guy, you need to be more present. Like when you're on the screen with Roman, especially you guys are going against each other, you need to appear to the audience as though you're just as important, just as big, just as tough, just as strong as Roman Reigns. And even if you're not physically as big as him, you need to look like, if he says the wrong thing, you're going to pop him in the mouth at any given moment. And I think Jay just needs to give us a little bit more of that in these segments where he's standing there with Roman. So Roman goes right into browbeating Jay. He tells Jay, that he's the reason he's called main event Jey Uso. He's the reason he's the right-hand man. Jay told Roman that I've been by your side for 3 years. I've been in the trenches with you, and it's because I believe in you. I believe in you to, lead this company. I believe in you to lead this family. And then Roman goes right back to the gaslighting, right? He tells the Jay that what happened to Jimmy is Jay's fault. Right? Again, just browbeating, trying to make him feel bad. Roman says the only reason Jay became the right-hand man is because Jimmy was hurt. Roman tells Jay that he screwed his brother over, and then when he loses that SummerSlam, he's not gonna be a part of the legacy. He says he has nothing. He tells Jay, even if he were to lose the SummerSlam, he's still Roman Reigns. He's still Roman Reigns, and Jay has nothing else going on. And then Roman tells Jay that, if you think you can actually beat me, right? He said, what makes you think you can actually beat me? And then Jay tells him, he gets in real close, puts his hand on his shoulder, he tells him, because I already beat you. I pinned you. I'm the only one to do it. And at SummerSlam, I'm going to do it again. And the crowd goes crazy for that. Jay gets out the ring to cheers, walks back to the ring. Everybody loves Jey Uso. Yay! This wasn't a great segment. It was solid. But the story here was that Roman tried to manipulate Jay, right? He tried to browbeat Jay like he always does, trying to make Jay feel bad, trying to make him feel guilty about going against the family, trying to make him feel guilty about what Roman and Solo did to Jimmy. So he really was just pouring on the guilt. And these are the times when in the past you would see Jay, that posture we were talking about, right? You would see Jay kind of shrink himself, and he would fall in line with Roman's gaslighting. But tonight, it didn't work. So Jay, looked Roman in the face, and he told him, I beat you. I know I'm going to beat you because I already beat you, right? So that's telling me that there's something different going on here. That was the main point of what they were trying to get across tonight, which is that, Jay is kind of turning the corner, that Roman's not going to be able to just do the same things to him that he always does to him, because he's different now, right? So So Roman's not going to be able to manipulate Jay in the same ways that he's always been doing. So, this is just showing us that Jay is kind of free from being manipulated by Roman. So this would be just kind of the setup for what will play out between these two for the rest of the show. So up next, we got the number one contenders match for, the number one contenders match for the U.S. title between Santos Escobar and Rey Mysterio. Now, this was a fun match. These two going back and forth. Of course, there was a video package before the match started, really just showing the history between Rey Mysterio and Santos Escobar, how much respect Santos has for Rey, all the nice things that Santos would always say about Rey, just paying respect to Rey as like one of the GOAT luchadors, probably the GOAT luchador, right? Especially in America, Rey Mysterio is probably the standard for Mexican wrestling for anybody who is just who watched the show in the last 30 years. Because if you're of a certain age, you probably got introduced to luchadors through Monday Nitro and all the stuff those guys were doing. And Rey Mysterio was definitely the king to come out of that and into the WWE. Obviously, WWE marketed the mask and all of that stuff. So Rey Mysterio is absolutely a legend, and he's got to be held up, super high for anybody who is a luchador, right? So anybody who respects the tradition, and obviously Santos Escobar does. He comes out with a mask on, and he used to, I think on Lucha Underground, who was he? Was he King Cuerno? He was somebody on Lucha Underground, but he used to wrestle with the mask on. He didn't take his mask off until he went to NXT, and they were, they just decided, hey, screw your tradition. You're not wearing a mask anymore. So how you feel about that? And so Santos Escobar hasn't worn a mask for years, but obviously, right, picking up on that luchador tradition, he's still showing respect to Rey Mysterio. And they gave us a video package just to remind us of what the relationship was between these two. Now, whenever we get something like that, my first thought is that this is leading to a double cross, that this is all going to end up with one person turning on the other. I thought for sure we were going to get Santos Escobar betraying Rey Mysterio at some point during this match, right? And it didn't happen. They had a good match. I thought we were going to get like a low blow at some points in the match. They were teasing it because you could see little frustrations kind of building on Escobar's face as the match was going on, as Rey would get the upper hand here and there. You would see little things going. It looked like the wheels were kind of spinning in Escobar's head, right? And, again, I thought we'd see something where maybe the rest of the LWO would come out and they would jump Rey Mysterio, and then they would decide we're no longer LWO. We're going back to being Legado de Fantasma. But we didn't get it. That didn't happen. The match actually ended on a spot where Escobar did a dive out of the ring. He knocked into Rey Mysterio, and Rey Mysterio was unable to continue the match. Now, that's a fine spot, right? The story on that was fine. But here's where I think they made a little bit of a mistake, is they kept showing the replay. They kept showing the replay, and every time they showed the replay, you could see that there was no contact between Escobar's head and Rey Mysterio's head. Awkward. Because we're sitting there, we're like, well, why is this match stopped? This looked like a perfectly fine dive where Escobar's hands hit Rey Mysterio's chest. If Escobar hit Rey Mysterio with his head at all, it was Escobar's head hit Rey Mysterio's chest. And yet we're being told that Rey Mysterio can't continue this match. They were playing it off almost as if Rey had a concussion of some kind. So they stopped the match. They announced Escobar as the winner. Escobar looked torn, right? Like he just didn't want to take a victory over his mentor in such a fashion. So I think there's definitely still more story there. That looked like kind of a weak way to get out of it. But I also am curious as to what's going to happen between Escobar and Austin Theory. Because it's not like Austin Theory's been setting the world on fire. Austin Theory beat John Cena at WrestleMania. But since then, it's not like Austin Theory has been doing anything to, like anything, right? I mean, he's been having matches, but he hasn't been beating anybody of note. He hasn't been getting, especially a ton of TV time. Like Austin Theory beating John Cena at WrestleMania really didn't do much for Austin Theory. Like it really didn't. Obviously, again, he'll always be able to say he beat John Cena at WrestleMania. Yes, that's great. But what happened after that, right? The way that this stuff works is you take the equity build up in somebody's name, and when someone beats them, then they're supposed to take that equity, right? Like almost like energy, right? Like they take that energy of that other person's momentum, and then they're supposed to roll with it. Think about when Brock Lesnar ended the Undertaker streak. I know it's still a sore subject to some people, but this is years ago. It happened. Let's move on, okay? When Brock Lesnar ended the Undertaker streak, Brock Lesnar went on to this dominant run as champion, right? Then he took that and did the Suplex City with John Cena, and then he just dominated everybody for all that time, right? And again, the whole point of that was to build up all this equity in Brock Lesnar so they could transfer it over for when Roman Reigns finally beats Brock Lesnar and just have that, have all that equity built up in him. So with Austin Theory beating John Cena at WrestleMania, that was supposed to send Austin Theory off to the moon, right? Like Austin Theory was supposed to be out of here. He was supposed to be a superstar after that. But it did not happen. Did not happen. So Austin Theory is kind of just standing there with the U.S. title, and I gotta wonder if this is time for them to take that title off him and put it on Escobar. Is it time? Is it time to switch courses? Is it time to, get us? I've heard so many rumors that WWE really wants to have a Latino champion, right? Because it's a big market, big fan base, and you want to cater to the fan base by giving them strong characters that they can get behind. Like, remember the fun time in 2020 and slightly after when people were like, wrestling sucks because there's no fans here, and we're all going to go on with our lives, but black people still watch wrestling, and then WWE decided we're going to make Bobby Lashley WWE champion, we're going to make Big E WWE champion, we're going to make Bianca Belair win the Royal Rumble, and just have all these great black stars, and it's just the golden era of black stars that'll never end until what happened? But I'm not here to talk about that. It's okay. It's still, everything's still great for black stars. And, this is okay. Speaking of black stars, we went backstage and saw Bianca Belair having an interview with one of the backstage interviewers. I can't remember which one it was because they all are kind of the same. But Bianca Belair was being interviewed, and then she was interrupted by Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville. And, of course, a little trash talking ensues back and forth. And Bianca invited Chelsea and Sonya, the women's tag team champions, to take her on in a triple threat match. And at this time, Charlotte Flair steps into the interview area. And, of course, she just sucks all the air out of the room. Yes, Charlotte Flair's here. This is my reaction. I'm sure this is your reaction as well. And not only did she step in and suck all the air out of the segment, she demanded that Bianca and herself face Chelsea and Sonya in a tag team match later that evening. She said she was going to go right over to Adam Pearce and just make sure it happens. And did we even see a segment with Adam Pearce and Charlotte having that conversation? No, it didn't matter. Why? Because what Charlotte wants, Charlotte gets. And that's a fact of life. That is a fact of life. So that's how we're living out here. All right. Back to the ring. Speaking of a fact of life, the next segment was Hit Row. It was a match. It was Ashanti the Adonis versus L.A. Knight. Yeah. So we get Hit Row in the ring, and Top Dollar is there antagonizing the audience. I think the first thing he said is, one thing I got to say about Louisiana is roll tide, roll tide. That was just mean, Top Dollar. That was mean because, people in Louisiana love their LSU Tigers. And so, of course, cheap heel heat by Top Dollar. And as soon as he said that, LA Knight's music hits. LA Knight comes out with the microphone walking down to the ring, and he says, hey, I knew Will Smith was in the game, but I didn't know Uncle Phil rapped too. And everybody laughed because, everybody loves LA Knight. That's actually pretty funny. But also, Top Dollar really sold it, right? When LA Knight said the line, Top Dollar really acted offended. Again, it helps everything get over. That was just a great little interaction by the two. Then he said that Top Dollar said that the Louisiana crowd was corny, but he thought B-Fab was actually horny. I was like, come on, man. All right. But anyway, he said he thought B-Fab was horny. And, then he got in the ring, and he had his match with Ashante Adonis. Now, this was a quick match. It was a quick match. There wasn't a whole lot going on. Ashante got the upper hand on him, was getting a few moves in, a few hits in. Top Dollar interfered, hit LA Knight once or twice. Top Dollar jumped up on the ring. LA Knight, knocked him off. LA Knight did his LA Knight elbow, and then he did his move. What do you call that dang thing? He calls it blunt force trauma, right? It's like, it almost looks like the Stone Cold Stunner, right? So, like, LA Knight, you are not helping your critic. You're not helping the people who want to criticize you for copying Stone Cold and The Rock by having a move that looks so much like the Stone Cold Stunner. But listen, haters gonna hate, okay? There ain't nothing you can do about that. But here's the thing about this match, right? It was quick. No big deal, but I gotta say this was a great job by everybody involved. Like, Hit Row did excellent heel work by playing the role of the heel whose job it is to come out, get the crowd riled up, get the people angry, just want to have the audience see them get punched in the face and get what they deserve. They did a great job with that. That set up perfectly for LA Knight to come out, say his zingers, and then have a short, sweet, to-the-point match. Does this make Hit Row look like they're in contention for any titles? Of course not. But it gives them what I think is a very valuable spot. Again, you want to keep the crowd energized. You want to keep the crowd on their feet. Whether they're cheering or they're booing, they're active. And they get active when Hit Row comes out. So give it up for Hit Row, okay? People don't love Hit Row. People be hating on Hit Row. They be calling Top Dollar, Flop Dollar because he messed up that one move that one time. But, I mean, come on, man. You got to give them credit because what they're doing well. What they're doing well, okay? You can only do the job that you're given, okay? You can only eat the food that's on your plate. You can only play the teams that's on your schedule. Just do the job that you're given, okay? Simple formula. And you be lying to yourself if you say the Hit Row is not doing a good job with what they're being asked to do. And here's another thing. People complain a lot about LA Knight's wrestling, but I don't know, I gotta tell you, I think matches like what we saw tonight, this is the way to go. Like, don't ask him to do too much. I think, long matches and huge displays of moves, that's overrated. I don't need to see, we cheer for LA Knight because we like when he be talking that slick talk. Okay? We like when LA Knight gets out there talking that slick talk. That's why we like LA Knight. That's why we cheer for LA Knight. It doesn't matter if you can do a moonsault or flips and dives and, or if you have 100 submissions. Like, all of that stuff does not matter. That does not matter. For some people, that matters. Ricochet needs to do every move in the book because you put a microphone in Ricochet's hand, good luck, okay? Good luck. But you put a microphone in LA Knight's hand, you're going to be laughing or booing or crying or sneezing or whatever because he gets the job done with the microphone. Okay? This is the same thing that y'all love so much about your boy MJF. Okay? You love MJF because he's a great talker. He stays in character, right? Like, everybody loves MJF. Well, damn it, you got to give LA Knight the same credit. You got to give LA Knight the same credit. Because they do basically the same thing. It's just that, MJF leads a little more to the Eric Cartman, foul-mouthed kid type of thing. But LA Knight can talk with the best of them. His value to the show is getting people riled up with the things he says. He gets people riled up with the things he says. And then I think it's the jobs of the producers of the show to turn that into good quality wrestling. Right? To turn that into wrestling matches that people care about. That's the job of the producers of the show. That's not the job of LA Knight, right? Of course, again, you can ask him to go out there and have 15, 20-minute matches and, 100 kickouts and all that. But we don't need that. We don't need that. Right now, you just need to let LA Knight talk people into a frenzy, create situations where we either want to see him get punched in the face or we want to see him win. And he's done a great job of that. He did a great job of that when you put him against Bray Wyatt. There was no intention for him to win that. He did a great job of that when you put him in the Money in the Bank with 72 other people and Logan Paul looked like everybody thought Logan Paul was going to win. But LA Knight still got himself over because he can talk. Give that man credit for what he does well and let LA Knight cook. Let LA Knight cook, all right? Real quick, man, if you like what we're doing here, please just take a second, hit the like button so everybody knows you like this video. Hit the subscribe button so you subscribe to this page. Try and get my subscriber numbers up. Hit the notification bell so you get notified each and every time I drop some brand new fire content on this page. And show some love. The best thing to do, as always, tell a friend to come get down with this pod. All right. We had Charlotte Flair and Bianca Belair against Sonya Deville and Chelsea Green. And Charlotte comes out, then, we go to commercial. But after we come back from commercial, we get to see something that we have been anticipating for a while. We get to see Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits. We have all been waiting on this, okay? We've been waiting on this since it seems like you guys took away all the people that we learned to love in 2020, okay? I'm not going to stop advocating for all the black talent to do our thing. That's right. I need the black talent featured out front. Let's go. Let's go. And by the way, these are three excellent, exceptional talents, right? Like Bobby Lashley, two-time WWE champion. And when they did the Hurt Business, we loved it, right? We loved it. The Hurt Business was the perfect contradiction to that retribution crap that they tried to pull during the pandemic. Right? The Hurt Business was right there. And then they tried to do that stupid retribution thing. And thankfully, they were smart enough to put the Hurt Business in position to start whooping Retribution's ass on TV. And it was truly just a win for everybody. Give it up for everybody involved. That was such a great and smart idea. So we've been waiting. We've been waiting to see the Hurt Business come back with to actually perform in front of crowds, in front of the audience. We've been waiting for, Bobby Lashley with Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin. But we don't know what we're doing with Cedric and Shelton. We don't know what's going on with MVP. And we also don't know what's going on with the Street Profits. We've been seeing teases that Montez Ford is going to get a singles run, but it just hasn't quite materialized, right? We saw the Elimination Chamber for the U.S. title. Montez Ford had a great showing in that match, but there was really no follow-up. And every time the Street Profits lose a match, everybody's just been kind of looking like, well, what's next? What's next? Is this the moment where Montez turns on Dawkins? Is Dawkins going to turn on Montez? What's going to happen? Everybody's been wondering what's next for the Street Profits. And I think we might have gotten a tiny little glimpse into what's next for the Street Profits tonight. So we go backstage and we see Bobby Lashley sitting with the Street Profits in a nice dressing room. And Lashley tells him, that he was chatting with Trick and Mello, and Trick and Mello spoke very highly of the Street Profits. Then Lashley tells the Street Profits that they are stars and that they need to start dressing like stars. And then Montez and Lashley both look over at Dawkins, who's sitting there in a very fresh, like let's give Dawkins credit. That was a very fresh Nike tracksuit he had on. Okay, that was a nice Nike sweatsuit. That joint gonna run you about $150, $200, $300. That was not no cheap little gear that Dawkins was wearing. But then we see Lashley have some ladies roll in with a rack of, I'm sure, finely tailored suits. Right? They cost thousands of dollars for each and every piece. And, everybody kind of looking at Dawkins like, oh, you're not feeling the sweat? And they're like, oh, yeah, no, cool. So pretty much, right, they're going to start, he's putting them up on the finer things, right? Like carrying them carrying themselves a certain way. Now, I got to tell you, this looks like the seeds of something that could be very interesting. I have my thoughts on where I think this might be going, okay? I think this could be, I think this is designed to look like they're setting up another Hurt Business type situation. But I think what this actually is going to be is the cocoon for Montez to get out of the Street Profits. I think the Street Profits are going to join Lashley in whatever type of group this is, and in doing so, at some point, we're going to see Dawkins and Montez kind of at odds. And either Dawkins is going to get kicked out or Montez is going to get kicked out because somebody's going to want to go against the grain and do their own thing. But either way, what we're going to end up with here, and hopefully, this is a slow burn, long play story that gets featured very highly and very prominently with good stories on SmackDown for a long time. But hopefully what we come out on the other side of this with is Montez as a superstar singles attraction. I think that's the goal here. That should be the goal here. And whether it's a situation where Montez kind of does like The Rock did with Farouk and kind of, starts to show him up a little bit, little by little, and until you kind of realize that Montez is the star of the group, whether it's that or whether Lashley and Dawkins are just being too dirty and Montez doesn't want to go all the way dirty, whatever it is, I think that this is going to be the setup for, again, hopefully they do this well, they take their time with this, and hopefully by, let's say, next SummerSlam, we're looking at Montez Ford as a main event attraction. I think that could be excellent. But we're going to have to see how they approach it because, obviously these things can either be done great or they can be done, like crap. They can be very poor and, we'll see, whatever. All right. So we come back to the ring and we see Bianca and Charlotte versus Sonya and Chelsea. And it's funny because when Sonya and Chelsea come out on Raw, you have Samantha Irvin's entrance, her announcement for their entrance. And her announcement for their entrance is so good, right? It's so good. I know that the other announcers, they probably want smoke with Samantha Irvin. Like, we gotta be honest. They probably hate it because she be putting so much stank on people's entrances, right? Like, just the way that she just, again, with the Roman Reigns, right? The Roman Reigns. I can't even do it, right? And with the Chelsea Green, right? The Chelsea Green. So when they come out on SmackDown and she's not there, it just don't hit the same, man. It just don't hit the same. And if I'm at home saying it just don't hit the same, I know that the wrestlers are probably thinking, man, I wish Samantha Irvin was doing my intro right now. And that really sucks for the other announcers, right? That really sucks for the other announcers because through no fault of their own, everybody notices. Everybody notices that you're not as good as her. And that's, again, no disrespect to the other gentleman who does the ring announcing, but Samantha Irvin is all that. She is all of that. She really brings something special to the ring announcing gig, so shout out to her. But Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville, they come out, and this was actually a good match, I gotta say. So one storyline that WWE leans on heavily when they are doing a big singles match is the reluctant tag team partners, right? Like, they'll put John Cena and Randy Orton together. John Cena and Randy Orton hate each other, but now somehow they're in a tag team match together, and it's for the tag team championships, and somehow they're now the tag team champions. Oh my God, this is crazy, right? This is a plot device that WWE has used over and over and over again. But you know what? It's good. It's not a bad plot device. When you put two people together who, don't like each other, but they're forced to work together, and it's going to implode at some point, you know what? I'm here for the drama. Give me the drama. Feed me the drama, okay? I'm waiting for that miscommunication I'm waiting for the opponent to duck out of being held, and then the two tag team partners clothesline each other or punch each other or super kick each other, and then they're fighting. Dag on it. I love it. I love it. I love it. It's a tale as old as time, but it gets us where we're going. You know what I mean? It's like a glass of tequila with a splash of lemonade. It gets you where you're going, ladies and gentlemen. It gets you where you're going. I'm here for getting where we're going, and that's what we did here. But I gotta say, I thought this might have been a squash. I thought they were going to go in there, smack around Sonya and Chelsea, and get the win. And then I thought that would actually set up a women's tag team title match for like next week. So then, not only do we have the reluctant tag team partners, but we got the reluctant tag team partners who now have to coexist as tag team champions. That apparently we didn't have enough time for that because SummerSlam is in 8 days, but I thought that's what was coming, and that's not what we got. We got a really good competitive match. Like, watching this match, at times, I didn't know who was going to win, and that's always, at any point in wrestling, when you are watching wrestling and you feel like you don't know who's going to win, that's the good stuff, okay? That's what you want. That is what wrestling is all about. Again, especially as fans who have been watching for years and years and years and years and years and years, the moments of not being sure exactly what's going to happen is what we're here for. That's what we're here for. And I got some of that watching this match tonight. It was a good competitive match. And I got to say, I was a little worried at first because, I just think it's a bad idea in general to squash your tag team champions. Because it just says your tag team divisions is trash, right? When you got your tag team champions out there getting beat up by a makeshift tag team that don't even want to work together, it just says your tag teams are weak and they're no good, right? So if you're in the tag team department, I would not feel good about that.
Emotional damage.
That's one way to think about it. But this match was actually really good. At times, it looked like Sonya and Chelsea were going to win, but the match actually ended when Bianca got Chelsea up. She had her in position for the KOD, but Charlotte did the blind tag on Bianca's back, came in the ring as Bianca turned around like, why'd you do that? And then she hit Chelsea with the big boot as she was up on Bianca's shoulders. It was actually a pretty good, cool looking, like it could have been like a finisher, and then she just pinned her. And I thought that was actually a really good way to end the match. Something that's actually funny though is, right, it looked like after Charlotte kicked Chelsea off of Bianca's shoulders, I think Sonya pulled Bianca out of the ring, but they never actually showed it. You just see Bianca kind of drop out of the ring in a very funny way. And then after Charlotte pins Chelsea, they put the camera on Bianca out of the ring, fussing back and forth with Charlotte, and you just see Sonya laying there like holding her shoulder. So you know Sonya got smacked around, but you didn't even see it. I'm like, man, like they
emotional damage.
This is just not, like they just don't have love for the tag team champs, man. They do not make the tag team champs look strong. They never do. They never do. I mean, they're trying with KO and Sammy, right? They're really trying with KO and Sammy. But WWE just traditionally, they do not make their tag team champs look like a big deal. And this is something they're consistently doing, right? They've been pretty consistent with that. So then we go backstage, right? And we see Bayley and Io talking. And Bayley is like, when we see Bayley in the locker room, she's looking at the monitor and she's like, ha ha, so stupid. She's like laughing at, Charlotte and Bianca for not getting along. And then Bayley turns around, she's talking to Io. Io's basically asking her, why did you leave me hanging last week, or whatever they went on between them last week. And then, Bayley's like, oh, hey, we had to go, whatever. And then Bayley looks in her bag and she sees a threatening note from Shotzi. It's one of those things, I know there's a name for it. When you take the letters, you cut out letters from like different magazine articles and you create like the note. I used to see this all the time on like Batman, when they would, like, the Riddler would put together like a letter, like a threatening riddle, but it would all be, instead of like handwritten, it would all be from letters that were cut out of like newspaper or magazines or something like that. I forgot what that's called. Is that called an anagram? Somebody, one of you very smart people out there in the internet, go ahead and drop down in the comments. Let me know if you guys know what that is, because you guys are very smart, much smarter than me. So Bayley has this threatening note from EO. It has the green hair kind of taped to it. I'm sorry, not from EO, from Shotzi. And, so then she's looking worried. And then as Bayley gets spooked by this letter, she gets EO. She's like, hey, let's get out of here. I guess she thinks that, Shotzi's like right behind her or something like that. And as they go to leave, they turn around and Asuka's right there. And so Asuka and EO are kind of having a little back and forth right there. And Asuka tells EO, hey, look, if you try to cash in on me at SummerSlam, I'm going to make sure you regret it. And then EO tells Asuka, I don't care who wins at SummerSlam because I am leaving as the WWE Women's Champion. Ladies and gentlemen, this was an excellent segment, okay? This was an excellent 2 segments because the match and the backstage all blended together. This was, when you look at like how many things is going on right here. So let's look at this, right? You got Charlotte versus Bianca, right? That's one story going on. You got Asuka's title reign, right? That's another thing that's going on. You got EO with the Money in the Bank briefcase, contract, whatever you want to say. You got EO and Bayley's relationship on the rocks, the strain in their relationship, and you got Shotzi trying to get her revenge on Bayley. Ladies and gentlemen, that's like 5 storylines going on simultaneously in the women's division. You got to give these guys credit, because for a very long time, WWE was not doing a great job. That's one thing we had to, give Triple H, we give him his flowers on other stuff. You got to give him his hate for the way he had been booking the women for a long time. But credit is deserved here, because if you look at what they're doing right now, there is a good amount of stories and action happening with the women. And I want to see all these stories come to, a full play out, a full fruition. And I think if they take their time with this, then we can be looking up in 6 months to a year and just talk about how great of a job they've actually done with the women's division on SmackDown. So good job to them for sneaking good stories in there and getting us ready for some good stuff coming up. Real quick, man, if you guys like what we're doing here, please just take a second and hit the like button, and hit the like button on this video. Hit the subscribe button so you're subscribed to this channel. Hit the notification bell so you get notified each and every time I drop some brand new fire content on this page. Thank you guys so much. By the way, no matter where you are when you see this video, do me a favor and drop where you are seeing this from. If Bob is seeing this in Hartford, or John is seeing this in South Carolina, Bill is seeing this in New Zealand, let me know. I want to know what kind of reach we are getting with this pod. I want to know how far the reach is of this video. I want to know, because YouTube is global, baby. YouTube is global, okay? This video can go to anybody, anywhere. And I want you to all love it, okay? We had Karrion Kross defeat Carl Anderson in a squash match. This was, listen, first of all, you know who deserves credit? Whoever negotiated the contract for Anderson and Gallows, give that person a round of applause, because those dudes are rarely on TV, but apparently they got big fat contracts to leave Impact and come back to WWE, and they're doing, less dates, less work, and getting paid a fat salary. Good for them, man. Whoever their lawyer is, can you negotiate something for me? Karrion Kross beat down Carl Anderson in a squash match, and then after the match, he was choking Carl Anderson out, and he was calling AJ, right? So the whole time he's beating Carl Anderson down, he's calling out AJ Styles until AJ Styles actually ran out and chased Karrion Kross away. So ultimately, this is leading to something between AJ Styles and Karrion Kross. Maybe it could be leading to something with AJ Styles and Mia Yim versus Karrion Kross and Scarlett. That could be the case. But whatever it is, I mean, this just doesn't seem interesting. And I like AJ Styles, right? I got nothing against AJ Styles. But I just, I know a lot of people really love AJ Styles. Like, AJ is the GOAT to a lot of people. And this storyline is not worthy of GOAT status. But listen, all these guys, it's their job to make the most out of the TV time they're getting. So good luck to them, because right now this is a yawn. Something that's not a yawn, though. Something that's not a yawn is the main event. We had Jey Uso against Grayson Waller. Jey Uso came out and he got a great response. I'm trying to watch Jey Uso, and I'm trying to watch the audience's reaction to Jey Uso and try and figure out if Jey Uso really is a main eventer. And sometimes yes, sometimes no. And to be fair, nobody, except maybe Roman Reigns, gets the same reaction all the time. LA Knight is getting consistently pretty hot reactions everywhere they go right now. But most people do not consistently get like hot reactions, no matter what. But they did a good job of finding people in the crowd when Jey Uso was coming out during his entrance. They were dancing. They were singing along. There's people in the audience that are really, really rocking with Jey Uso. And I wouldn't put him at, consistent main eventer status yet. But again, you got to give credit where credit is due. He's doing a good job. Jey Uso is doing a good job with what he's being given so far. So we're going to keep watching, right, and seeing how this plays out. So tonight, we had Jey Uso versus Grayson Waller in the main event of SmackDown. Jey Uso comes out first. Grayson Waller comes out second. And what was really funny is as Grayson Waller was getting in the ring, Jey Uso just has this thing where he just kind of like looks at him. He has like this look on his face like, yo, is this dude serious? Like he's like looking at Grayson Waller do all of his, dribbling between the legs and all of his jive. And Jey Uso just kind of looks at this guy and he's like, yo, is this guy serious? This guy's doing way too much. And it's really funny because Grayson Waller does way too much, and Jey Uso plays everything so cool. He plays everything so cool. So the match they had was really good. Grayson Waller can definitely go in the ring. There was a lot of good stuff, a lot of good back and forth. But of course, Roman Reigns had to come out, and Roman can't just let Jey Uso have no peace. Okay, Roman can't let Jey Uso just have no peace. Roman had to come out. Roman and Solo and the wise man Paul Heyman, they come out to ringside, and they're watching Jey's match, right? They're holding a distraction for Jey as he goes against Grayson Waller. 2 points in this match that I thought were really, really good. When Grayson Waller had Jey Uso on the mat, he basically did his version of the people's elbow. But this was by far the worst people's elbow I have ever seen. This people's elbow that Grayson Waller did was worse than Snoop Dogg's people's elbow at WrestleMania. The people's elbow that Snoop Dogg gave to The Miz after Shane McMahon, broke his leg or cracked his hamstring or whatever he did. Snoop's people's elbow was better than the one Grayson Waller did tonight. This was awful. Because Grayson Waller was supposed to be an athlete. This was terrible. So Grayson Waller did the people's elbow. It was funny. The way the match finished, Jey Uso had Grayson Waller in the middle of the ring. Jey Uso gets in the corner, like he's getting ready to come out and super kick him. And then when Grayson Waller stands up, Jey Uso spears Grayson Waller. Hits him with the spear, the Roman Reigns spear, and Roman did not like that. Roman stood up out of his chair. Roman was hot. And so, after the match, Roman and Solo go into the ring. They beat down Jey. And listen, Jey caught a whooping. Solo and Roman, they gave Jey the spike spear combination like 2 or 3 times. This was a rough night for your boy Jey Uso, and he got left laying. And when stuff like this happens, it forces you to go into your detective mode. how does WWE typically book these things from a pattern sense, right? We know that whoever gets the upper hand going into the pay-per-view is usually losing at the pay-per-view. This is the way it typically is. This is the way it's usually done. And so when I saw Roman and Solo beating Jay down tonight, it made me think for a second, wait a minute now, wait a minute. But then I remember SummerSlam is not tomorrow. SummerSlam is next week. So SummerSlam is next week. That means next week, Jey Uso and Roman are going to get together again. And this time, Jey Uso is going to get the better of Roman so that at SummerSlam, Jey Uso can take the fall. I'm sorry. It's not happening, Jay. Listen. This was a good, fun episode of SmackDown. A lot of stuff is happening. I'm really happy with what they're doing with the women. The story that they're doing with the women, it feels good. It feels strong. They're getting a lot of people involved. Charlotte and Bianca don't need a title. So if you ask me how I expect the women's match to play out come SummerSlam, I think it's actually going to be a situation where I think Asuka's going to win. I think Asuka's going to be the winner of the triple threat match, and I think Io's going to try to cash in on her. We'll see if that happens or that doesn't. I think what'll probably happen is Io will try to cash in, and we'll see Shotzi come in to maybe prevent Io from cashing in. Now, the question is, does Io actually hand over the briefcase or not before she tries to cash in on Asuka? And that's going to be a huge determiner of what's going on, right? Like, is Io going to actually lose her Money in the Bank briefcase? I think Io's going to be champion. I think Io should absolutely get a chance to be champion. Io is fantastic. If you guys haven't seen Io, seen her stuff from NXT, like, she's dope. Io is dope. Like, the moonsaults, just the way she wrestles, like, Io is so good. And you can see that they were slowly kind of breaking her away from Bayley, but I think they're doing a little less because Bayley got injured. We all saw on social media Bayley got injured. One thing I do like, though, is even though Bayley's injured, they've been keeping her on TV. I think that's a great move because she can still talk, right? She can still do talking segments. She can still do a lot of the character stuff and stuff that forwards the storyline like she has been doing, even if she's not being physical, with Io or with anybody else. So I like what they're doing, man. I like what they're doing. I think there's a lot of great stuff going on there. And listen, I like it. I like it. I'm a fan. I think that where they're going with the U.S. title, right? Like, that could, to me, I think you can get that title off of Grayson Waller. Grayson Waller's not doing anything with that title. They announced there's going to be a SummerSlam Battle Royal, and that is, shout out to the call-up. He said, I'm coming off with an echo, and an echo, and an echo, echo, echo. Sorry about that. But I really like call. You made me lose my thought train, man. You made me lose my thought train. But they announced it's going to be a SummerSlam Battle Royal. I think they set that up just so LA Knight can get a big spot at SummerSlam. I think that's going to be, I think they're starting to do some stuff where they're letting LA Knight cook, right? They can see that LA Knight is on fire each and everywhere they go. And, I think it's a big deal, man. I think it's a big deal. I think there's big things in store for LA Knight. I think there's big things in store for Io Sky. I think that we're getting to a Charlotte versus Bianca program, and I think that's going to be amazing. It doesn't need a title. They both have so much cachet built up with everything that they're doing. And I just think it's going to be dope, right? Seeing Charlotte and seeing Bianca go one-on-one, like, this is what it's all about, right? Like, this is why you take time to build up characters so that, like, championship belts are really just a plot device, right? In the grand scheme of storytelling, a belt is supposed to give you a reason to care about a character or care about a storyline or care about a fight. With Charlotte versus Bianca, You care because they're them, right? Bianca Belair, she won 3 WrestleMania title matches in a row. Give it up for that girl. Give it up for that girl. And of course, Charlotte Flair. So to me, I'm really excited to see how they're building this match because it's a big match that doesn't need a title involved. And I hope they give it the space that it deserves. They give it the fanfare that it deserves. I think Charlotte and Bianca is going to be a big deal. But yes, the call-up said, I have to agree with you on the LA Knight move. Yeah, I agree. I think they're definitely trying to put LA Knight in position to shine. LA Knight's a big deal, man. LA Knight is a big deal. This dude is doing his thing. I think that, it's a mistake to ask LA Knight to do too much wrestling, right? Like to ask LA Knight to get out there and, try to do a bunch of, flips and submissions and all stuff. Like, if that's not his game, that's not his game. LA Knight gets people juiced up when he grabs that microphone and talks that talk. That's what he's good at. That's what he's there for. And then he just put him in position to keep doing it. Keep doing it. And if you got to put the U.S. title or the Intercontinental title or something like that on him to make that title feel like a big deal or to make him feel more like a big deal, then go ahead and do it. But LA Knight has all the tools to be the star of your show because he's a guy that can get anybody over, right? Like, again, they set him up in that feud with Bray Wyatt to begin with. They were just supposed to be feeding him to Bray Wyatt, right? They were just supposed to be feeding him to Bray Wyatt. And what did he do? He got over in that feud more than Bray Wyatt. Give it up for that man. Give it up for that man. LA Knight is that dude. So, listen, I am actually going to be out of town next week. I might find some time to drop a pod on you guys, but I wanted to go live tonight. So I probably won't. I may drop a SummerSlam predictions pod. We'll see. Just so I can get something to you guys. But yeah. So I'll get something out to you guys next week. Like I said, I'm going to be on vacation with the family. But please, if you guys want to show some love to this pod, hit the like button so everybody knows you like this video. Hit the subscribe button so you are subscribed to this channel. Hit the notification bell so you're notified each and every time I drop some brand new fire content on this page. And if you really want to help out the show, the best thing you can do is tell a friend to tell a friend. Let's bring more people into the conversation. Thank you to everybody who is watching this video. I appreciate every like. I appreciate every comment. I appreciate every share. I'll be back with you guys again next week. Until next time, I'm TW. Peace.